I have been working my way through the book of Ecclesiastes, the book of the Kohelet. On a number of previous videos, we've worked our way up to chapters 11 and 12. In these chapters, first of all, in 11, he will look at various observations and exhortation. Then, as we come to chapter 12, he'll give the classic description of old age in light of all that he has said. So let's go to 11 and we'll begin. I'll be reading the text in translation. Cast your bread upon the waters, for you shall find it after many days. Give a portion to 7 and also to 8, for you know not what evil shall be upon the earth. If the clouds be full of rain, they empty themselves upon the earth. And if the tree fall towards the south or toward the north, in the place where the tree falls, there it shall be. He that observes the wind will not sow, and he that regards the clouds will not reap. As you know not what is the way of the Spirit, nor how the bones grow in the womb of her that is with child, even so you know not the works of God who makes all. So in the morning sow your seed, and in the evening withhold not your hand. For you know not whether it shall prosper either this way or that way, or whether they both alike shall be good. Truly, light is sweet, and a pleasant thing to the eyes to behold the sun. But if a man live many years and rejoice in them all, yet let him remember the days of darkness, for they shall be many. All that comes is vanity. Rejoice, therefore, O young man, in your youth, and let your heart cheer you in the days of your youth, and walk in the ways of your heart, and in the sight of your eyes. But know this, that for all these things, God will bring you into judgment. Therefore, remove sorrow from your heart, and put away evil from your flesh. For childhood and youth are vanity. The Kohelet is going to encourage the reader as to how to respond in light of the things we are unsure of. Cast your bread upon the waters, for you shall find it after many days. We are to send forth, literally, our bread as we help others, and we may not see immediate returns, but after many days you shall find it. As a matter of fact, be very liberal in your generosity and in your giving. Divide a portion to 7, even to 8, for you do not know what evil might befall upon the earth. In other words, give freely. 7, yea, 8 is an idiomatic way of saying in a complete way. Do not simply put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak, but divide it out. You do not know what evil might befall or might fall in one, but if you have it in 7 places, it is going to have a good return. I do not believe he is talking about investment of money here as much as investment in giving. If the clouds be full of rain, they empty themselves upon the earth. And if a tree falls in the south or in the north, in the place where the tree falls, there it shall be. In life, we know that if the clouds are full of rain, they are going to empty themselves upon the earth. So as you give and divide to others, you know that there is going to be a fruitfulness in what you do. However, you cannot control every detail because you do not know what evil shall be upon the earth. So, the clouds being full of rain is symbolic, I believe, of the need to continue to give in a full way. You know not if it will have fruit. You do not know that it will have fruit. If a tree, though, will fall in the south or in the north, in the place where the tree falls, there it shall be. We do not know when the wind blows, he's saying, where a tree is going to fall, whether to the north or to the south. Wherever it falls, that is where it will stay. So it is with life. We do not know the outcome of what can happen in terms of the giving that one does. It is sort of like a tree falling. That is where it will be. The same is true in our life and in our giving. We cannot predict where things are going to fall or how it is going to fall out. We simply are to sow the seed, as it were, divide the portion to 7, and make sure in so doing, you can make sure in so doing that there will be a harvest, even if you cannot predict every detail of it. That is something that I have to learn, because one of the things that I find at this time is the ministry has changed in terms of retirement. And now most of what we do is online, on YouTube, for example. And I have no idea what I'm sowing, whether it's helping anyone or not. But this speaks to me. All we can do is keep sowing the seed of God's word. He who observes the wind will not sow, and he who regards the clouds will not reap. If you look at the wind blowing, you will not go out and sow because you will be afraid of the wind blowing it away. If you look at the clouds, you will not reap at harvest time because you will think that there is rain coming. In other words, go out and do your work. Do not be paralyzed by the paralysis of analysis, we could say. If we look at all the potential problems, nothing will get done. So do not observe the wind or the clouds, but go ahead and sow and reap. As you know not what is the way of the wind, nor how the bones grow in the womb of the one who has a child, so you do not know the work of God who does all things. You cannot predict how things are going to fall out any more than you can understand how the bones are growing in the womb of one who is having a child. You do not know the way that the wind is blowing. We cannot figure out all the work of God and what he does. Therefore, instead of analyzing and being overly concerned, do your task. In the morning, sow your seed. In the evening, do not withhold your hand. For you do not know what will prosper, whether it will be this or that, or whether they both alike will be good. So the exhortation that Kohelet is giving is keep on keeping on. Something I used to say a lot to students that I had in the past. Sow the seed. Do not withhold your hand from giving and being faithful in that, for you do not know whether this particular gift of giving will prosper or whether it will or will not. If we could apply it to our deeds or our work, we have no idea as to how it's all going to fall out and what part of it is going to prosper. I feel this especially for pastors as we preach the word. We do not know, as I said before, how it is going to be received. Sometimes I have preached and thought to myself, nothing happened. And yet, right afterwards, maybe in the life of one or two people, something happened that I could never observe by just looking at the congregation in the church auditorium. So it is in life. We keep on keeping on, sowing the seed, for we do not know how it is going to prosper and or whether it will prosper or not. We are just to sow the seed. And the light is sweet, the Kohelet says, and a pleasant thing for the eyes to behold the sun. For if a man lives many years, let him rejoice in them all, and remember the days of darkness, that they will be many. All that comes is vanity. One of the most beautiful things that we can enjoy is the light of day. It is pleasant to see and look at the sun and marvel at its beauty. Furthermore, in light of that, if a man live many years, let him rejoice just like we can rejoice in the light of a sunny day. Let him rejoice in all of them. And in the process, remember that the days of darkness are coming. Therefore, they shall be many, and all that shall come, the Kohelet says, will be vanity. Now, he says, he is prepared to give, as a result, exhortation to young people concerning the coming days of old age and the need to do the commandments of the Lord now, while one is young. Enjoy life, but make sure that one lives life entirely for the Lord. At this point, the Kohelet is going to come to the conclusion of his book. He turns now to the young man representing all youth that would be listening to his exhortation. He writes, "Rejoice, O young man, in your youth, and let your heart cheer you in the days of your youth." Enjoy your youth, he is saying, and walk in the ways of your heart and in the sight of your eyes. Enjoy what you are doing. Enjoy what you are seeing. But know one thing, that for all these things, God will bring you into judgment. Know that there is a judgment day coming, he is saying. Enjoy the now, but do not forget the then. Therefore, remove vexation from your heart and put away evil from your flesh, for childhood and youth, this word in the Hebrew means black hair, and I can witness to that, are fleeting. In exhortation, the Kohelet says, enjoy life now, as you are young, in all of its avenues. But in the process of enjoying it, remove all the pain and vexation from your heart, and put away all evil and sin, for childhood and youth are fleeting. So do the things that I have been telling you to do in this book, he is saying, and that will be the way that you will remove vexation from your heart. He then will go into a depiction of old age to encourage the reader to keep on, keeping on before old age sets in. So in Ecclesiastes chapter 12, we have this classic description of old age. The Kohelet writes, "Remember now your Creator in the days of your youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when you shall say, I have no pleasure in them. While the sun, or the light, or the moon, or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease, because they are few. And those that look out of the windows be darkened, and the doors shall be shut in the streets, when the sound of the grinding is low. And he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. Also, when they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fears shall be in the way, and the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be a burden, and desire shall fail, because man goes to his long home, and the mourners go about the street. Or ever the silver cord is loose, or the golden bowl be broken, or the pitcher be broken at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the cistern. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher, all is vanity. Hevel havalim, amar kohelet, hakol havel. That theme now in a final way is being repeated. All is transitory. Moreover, because the preacher, he says, was wise and taught people knowledge, yea, he gave good heed and sought out and set in order many proverbs. The preacher sought to find out acceptable words, and that which was written was upright, even words of truth. The words of the wise are as goads, and as nails fastened by the masters of assembly, which are given from one shepherd. And further, by these, my son, be admonished. Of the making of many books there is no end, and much study is a weariness to the flesh. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter, he says. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. In encouraging then the youth to remove vexation from their heart and put away evil from their flesh, for childhood and youth is vanity, he moves on to give a classic description of old age. He says, and remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the evil days come and the years draw nigh, when you say, I have no pleasure in them. Remember your Creator, he is saying, while you are young, before more evil days and years come and you discover you do not have the pleasure as you did before. Before the sun and the light and the moon and the stars are darkened and the clouds return after the rain. In old age, there are more cloudy days at times than sunny days. Illness, different things begin to happen. So remember your Creator now in the sunny days before the sun is darkened. And there are more rainy days than sunny days with aging. Often in old age, things can happen that cloud the day. There may be a sunny day, but other things can happen, whether they be physical or not. He is then giving warning about the advent of old age. He is then going to go on to say, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble. The keepers of the house seem to refer to the arms and the hands that work for the body. And the strong men shall bow themselves. The legs are bent, no longer strong as they were before. And the grinders cease because they are few. The teeth are less, and they are falling out. And those that look out of the windows are darkened. The eyes cannot see as they once did. Remember your Creator before that time is the application of the Kohelet. Remember your Creator, he says, before the doors shall be shut in the street, when the sound of the grinding is low, and one shall wake up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. Often in the ancient Near East, the women would grind grain, and at night the grinding would slow down and the doors would be shut. Looking at life and the slowing down of old age, one can arise suddenly then at the voice of a chirping bird. This could be one getting up early at the time the birds begin to chirp, or at the voice of a bird. Any little thing can startle one awake. And the daughters of music are also brought low, could be describing the hearing being impaired. When they shall be afraid, he continues, of that which is high, and terrors shall be in the way. One cannot climb a mountain like one used to in youth. There are terrors in the way, in the sense that one is fearful of falling over something. One's gait is not stable as it was before. Old age, people can worry about falling and perhaps breaking a hip. So even little things can bring a tear. And the almond tree shall blossom. Almond tree here is probably looking at a tree that would become white with its blossoms, possibly looking at the whiteness of hair. And the grasshopper shall drag itself along. In youth, one was like a grasshopper hopping along, but now in old age, one cannot hop as he did. One drags himself like a grasshopper dragging itself along. I remember playing basketball in 1958 and 59. What a difference if I would even try it today. I probably couldn't even get out there. And the caperberry shall fail. The caperberry had the desire, gives desire, and in old age it fails. So because man goes to his long home and the mourners go about the street. Man goes to his forever home, the Kohelet is saying, which is a picture of the oncoming of death, and the mourners go about the street. In the ancient Near East, they would often have professional mourners that would mourn the death of one. So they would go and mourn in the streets after a death, which would depict a time of sadness. Before the silver cord, he says, is snapped, and the golden bowl is broken, and the pitcher is broken at the fountain, and the wheel falls shattered in the pit. The imagery here is that of a cord that would hold a bowl like a lamp. If that snapped, the bowl comes crashing down and the light is lost. Or perhaps a pitcher is taken to a fountain to draw water, and it breaks, making it unable to draw water anymore. Or a wheel that used to pump water falls down into the very well in which it is seeking to pump, and as a result, one cannot bring up water. I believe he is using these different pictures then to depict the demise of the body and all the things that break down in old age. He goes on to say, and dust returns to the earth as it was, and the spirit returns to God who gave it. Hevel havalim amar hakohelet, hevel havalim hakohavel. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. So now we are picturing the human body being dust, going back to the earth as it was, and the spirit going back to God. The spirit returning to the Lord, separating itself from the body, which is a depiction of death. This brings then us to the conclusion of the theme that he began in verse 1. So he comes to conclude with the same phrase as we've seen, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Having finished in verse 9 through the end, we now come to the epilogue. In the epilogue, the Kohelet says these words, and besides that, it reads, the Kohelet was wise. He also taught the people knowledge. He pondered out and set in order many proverbs. The Kohelet was wise and taught the people true knowledge, and he did it in a way that was to be with delight as he pondered how to write it. He sought to find words of delight that might be written according to the truth, but also to have a delightsomeness about his style. I can honestly say, reading through Kohelet in the Hebrew, one certainly sees words of delight in the way it is expressed, written to tell the truth as to how one's life should be lived. He says, the words of the wise are as goads. They goad us to a better life, and as nails well fastened. It takes truth and nails. It takes truth and nails it down. Seems to be the thought. They are composed of collections, that is, sections brought together to summarize what the Kohelet is saying. And furthermore, as we think about this, they are given by one shepherd. All of this goes back to the Lord, the Kohelet is saying, who is the source or the shepherd, giving us all of these marvelous words in the book of Ecclesiastes. He then has a warning. He says, furthermore, my son, be admonished. Of the making of books there is no end, and much study brings weariness to the flesh. You might read a lot of other books, and it will weary the flesh. But if you read my book, it will guide you into truth, because it will guide you into truth because it comes from one shepherd. I often wonder what the Kohelet would say today regarding the superabundance of books, and I think over 1 billion internet sites. What a truth we need to realize here. We must focus on the one book that has eternal value, the Kohelet is saying. That's not only Ecclesiastes we could apply it, but to the Word of God. I am reminded of John Wesley, the great founder of Methodism, who said that he had become a man of one book. And George Mueller, who read the Bible over and over, they say over 150 times in his lifetime. That to me is what the Kohelet is saying. Give attention to my book and do not weary yourself with all the other books, because what I have written comes from one shepherd to nail down the way you are to live your life. He goes on to say, then, the end of the matter of all that has been heard is this: fear God and keep his commandments, for this is all of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every hidden thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. As we come to the final conclusion, Kohelet says the end of everything, everything that you have been told, he says, everything that you have been, that I've been examining in the book, is that you need to fear God and keep his commandments. For this is the totality of what human existence is all about. God shall bring every work someday into judgment with every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil. So fear God and do what is right. I think to fear the Lord is to take all of the things that are vanity and fleeting that he has discussed in the book and remove them. And the things that have value, such as companionship and enjoying life, focus on these. I remember when I was in high school running track, which we did as basketball players to keep in shape. I remember one practice in particular where a young man was running around the track and weeds were growing on the other side. This young man, we were all in this run together, had ducked behind the weeds during the first lap of 4 in a mile run. So as we continued to run, we came finally to the last lap, and he broke out of the weeds, joined us with a smile on his face, and as we came near the finish line, he passed all of us to complete the race in front of everyone. However, the only problem was the coach had seen him and was not at all pleased with what he had done. So for the next race, he was not allowed to run. I am reminded in life of all these tendencies that can take us out of the race. We can think of this as going after human wisdom or materialism, which we saw earlier in the book, or pursuing money or rivalry. What he is saying is avoid these weeds and keep on the track. And if you follow what I have told you in this book, you will fear God and keep his commandments, and you will find that he will reward you with his blessings someday. I am reminded that as a Christian, Jesus Christ is the antidote for every one of these things that the Kohelet has explored. He is the wisdom of God. He is the one that we should find wisdom in. Human wisdom is vain, but he is the treasure of the Godhead bodily. He is the one in whom we are to toil and labor, working for that which is everlasting in terms of work. Jesus said, do not work for the bread that perishes, but work for that which will never perish. We can be assured that even though we see the finitude of everything, Jesus has promised that today you shall be with me in paradise to the thief on the cross, and that death is not the end for a Christian believer in Jesus. It is fellowship with him. Yes. He has told us that we are not to build our life around the love of money, but we are to build our life around him, and all the other things will work together for good. He has told us by his example that we are to cultivate companionship. He said to the disciples, you are my friends He has certainly also encouraged us to enjoy life and to be benevolent in all that we do for others. So Jesus Christ, at every point, is the answer of Kohelet's question, I believe. As we think about his encouragement, let us remember then our Creator in the days of our youth and serve him, or whatever age we are, and serve him with everything we have while we enjoy life. Let us never forget who he is and his words for our life, so that someday he might say to us, "Well done, good and faithful servant."
Amen. Amen.